Welcome to your Ag Finance class, and this week we are talking about cash flow budgets. Now, last week we introduced the concept of a cash flow budget. We also introduced the concepts of working in Excel. So this week we're putting that all together, and you're going to work on what we call a cash flow budget. Now we're going to do that today in this video through an example. The example is also your homework. So here's my advice. Watch the video complete. I'm going to go kind of fast because I want to get through the whole thing. So watch it complete and then go back and pull up the homework yourself and then watch the parts of the video and then go do the work in the spreadsheet yourself. And that way you can learn how to, number one, use Excel better, but number two, also the structure of the cash flow budget. If you have to do it yourself, follow along. I think you'll get more out of that. All right, let's take a look. When you come to your cash flow budget homework I've given you in my example, and the same we're going to be for your project, it helps to have different sheets, as we talked before, to kind of break things up so we don't have too much happening in one sheet. First sheet I gave you is the instruction sheet. It's really not always necessary, but it kind of helps to let me tell you that we are doing a feeder slab expansion. Now, this is a project that I did for an operator years back. So the numbers are kind of real here, but I've tried to simplify it a little bit. But the idea is we're going to expand our feed slab operation for hogs. Now, to do that, we need to understand what it's going to take us. And so we've estimated what we need in cash. We've also estimated what the costs are. Now, the way a lot of businesses keep up with cost is depends on how many hogs you're feeding. That's what it's going to cost for feed, vet medication. Vet medication, it depends. So some costs are variable, and they're going to be based on our pigs coming in at 100 pounds and going out at 260. So they're gaining 160 pounds a month. So we're going to use that. We're also selling pigs every 90 days. So we bring them in January, feed them for January, February, and in March we sell them. We start the next batch the next quarter. So that'd be April, May, June. Get rid of those. Then July, and you get the idea. All right, we're going to also need some assets to get this done, so it's going to take us some money. And so we have all of that information in here, but this next tells you, here's what we're doing. Next page, it's called the resource page. And again, I brought all of this in here to help you, so all of the information really is based on what's here. So what do we know? Well, we know it's going to take us $2 million in cash to get started. Got some assets from investors. We're going to need that later on. And then we know what it's going to cost. Now, I'm doing the cost per pound of gain. So already figured out is $0.138 to get a pound of feed, a pound of gain. And that's what the feed costs to get that done. Also cost another penny, cost 3 cents in equipment use, another penny in transportation, 8 cents in salaries, and so altogether that's going to be totaled, and I got it totaled here for you, and that's what a formula equals sum, C7 to C37, that's all of those numbers, that's 28 cents. All right, our business also is going to have depreciation in December, and in July we're going to have machine repair, so that's all listed. Our assets are listed here, cash down and what we are able to finance. That all happens in January. The note we have to pay happens in December. And the pigs that we buy are going to cost us 40 cents. They're going to weigh 100 pounds when they come in. And I did a formula equals, multiplied those two cells. It's going to cost us 40 bucks for each pig as they come in. Now this is our information based on what it cost. A little bit based on the gain, I should say, or fixed. Now, we also have an income area and how things are timed, and so I've gotten a lot of these things already filled out for you. I put the months all the way across here. That way our cash flow knows the right months. I've got some information here like numbers of pigs shipped out. Well, in January, you ship out nothing. February, nothing, but March, you get 25,000 out. Same thing's true for the rest of the quarters. Next one is just a simple row that all the pigs gain 160 in total. And then when did you buy the pigs? Well, I have in here that if you sell 25,000, that means you must have bought 25,000. Now I have in here average pigs on hand, and then I have a death loss percentage that you can see is 0. So that's not hurting us right now, but it could later. So anyway, that's what we know today. And then I repeated that each quarter so you can see the numbers go across. I've also got in here that we sell them at 260. Again, we gain 160. And I did a little formula here that took what they gained, divided across those 3 months. So every month, pigs are gaining 53.33 pounds. All right. So this resource page is where all of the answers originate. Now we want to put these together to build the cash flow. But instead of jumping straight to a cash flow, I like to do what's called a revenue and expense sheet for me. It's basically we bring all the stuff together, and then we're going to use it later. So I've broken this sheet up, again, hopefully pretty simple. Here's what we sell. Here's what we spend in expenses. Here's what we spend in repair cost and machinery. Here's what we spend in depreciation. And here's the money we need to buy those assets. So I've kind of got these things already labeled for you. I got rid of all the expenses that were in that other sheet and just brought in the ones that mattered to us. And I even did a little link. For example, this is equals whatever's in C11. This equals whatever's in C26 from the other page. So I brought over all of these to give us these answers. So really all the work's been done for you here, but here is where you begin your work. Let's start at the top. All right, one of the things I want to show you in Excel is try not to write formulas that give you just one answer. Try to write a formula that gives you an answer for January and then just replicate that across all the other months. It's much faster. All right, let's go to cash sales. So how do you start a formula? Always press equals. So once I press equals, I'm going to go and get the information I need. So in January, let's go to the resource page. It's still working on a formula right now. You can see it says equals resource info and it's got a question mark. It doesn't know what yet. It's waiting on me to pick something. So in January, we sell this number of pigs, which is blank, but go ahead and pick it. Now, all these pigs that we maybe sell, in this case none right now, but it's just a formula, remember, we can replicate it. So January, this is the number of pigs that are sold, multiplied, how much do they weigh? Well, the weight's right here. Again, nothing yet. Multiplied times, so that's going to give me total pounds on what we sell them for, which is, again, price right here. That's the row anyway. Nothing's in that cell yet, but that's okay. Press enter. So I have got quantity times weight times price. Enter. That brings me back to that page and gives me the answer of 0 right now. But you see the formula up here? There is an answer there. It's in that formula. So what I can simply do is just choose copy and then go across all those other cells and choose paste. And that will put all the answers in there. Now another way to do this is to just use that little bottom, go over here and start again, equals. If you press this first formula, you can do regular copy and paste, or you can just grab that little box down there, slide it all the way across to the end, and that brings a copy paste feature. So now you can see in January we sell nothing, February we sell nothing, but March we got an answer all of a sudden. So if I press my double click and see the formulas, that's because it's finally now looking at I-17, I-13, I-12. So if I go back to my resource page, my original formula started right here, but when I copied and pasted it over, it went over 1 and 2 to that row, which is I, and now it has numbers. The next month, no numbers. Finally, L, there's the numbers again. So the formula was written, just simply copying and pasted across all the rows, the answers came in at the right time. So that was a simple formula. All right, what about expenses? Well, let's go down here and work through these a little bit differently here. We have factors every month that apply, so equals. All right, well, let's go, and for me, it's easier to say what our total number is. Well, if I go to my resource page, I'm going to start off and say that I had on hand 25,000 pigs that month times, little asterisk symbol there, each gain 53.33. Now notice this cell here. It's not replicated every month. I probably could have done that. That's just a set factor that we need to use. So I don't really want that to change as I go, but I have this set up to work for you every month, so that's pretty good. So how many pigs we have, multiplied times what they gained, and then finally the last part is multiplied. Now what does it cost us? I'm going to go back to my cash flow, my revenue expense sheet, excuse me, and it cost us 0.138 right there. So I've got how many head, how much they gained, multiplying times what it cost. Enter. There's the number. Now when I double click on that, those are the formulas. You can kind of see everything here. Well, I know one thing. The number of head I have, the G10, it was fine. That's what I want to do. It's going to go across each row. However, F14 represents what they gained, and so I want that to stay still. In other words, I don't want it to become F goes to G or H, or F14 goes to F15 or 16. I don't want it to move. So everything in Excel, the symbols represent something. Plus represents add, minus represents subtract, asterisk represents multiply. A dollar symbol tells Excel, don't move the F. In other words, don't let the F become a G. So you put a dollar sign in front. What about the 14? I don't want it to become a 15 or 16 of rows, so you put a dollar symbol in front of that. All right, so that locks that cell. It won't change. Same thing true here. B8 is my cost. I don't want my cost to change. So once again, I don't want the B to move to a C to a D, so I put a dollar symbol in front of that. Now the 8. Do I want the 8 to become a 9 or a 10 or 11? Well, actually, I might, because I want to go down and look at medications, or I want to go looking at tractor costs. I might want those to change. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a dollar symbol off that so it can move if I want it to. All right, press enter. So now I've written that formula once. I think I've got it right. Copy and paste across all the cells. And at this point in time, number of pigs is the same, weight gain's the same, cost is the same, so my answers ought to all be the same. All right, let's go to the next one. How many feeder pigs should we purchase? Well, same idea, equals. Let's go see what we have here, resource page. This is the number of pigs that we buy. So in January, we do buy that many. Now notice I've got blanks after that because we don't buy anymore. So that means that cell can change as we copy that formula. So that looks like a good one right there. All right, multiplied. We bought that many pigs. Multiplied by what they weighed. Well, it told us their weight buying them over here. So I'm going to look at that cell. Now remember, you can see that's just by itself. So I'm not going to want it to change once I pick it. So I say, well, 25,000 pigs weighing 100 pounds. So that multiplied together is good. And then the next is multiply by what? Well, I'm going to go back to the revenue expense. I have the answer right there. It's 40 cents. So hit enter. So we're going to spend $1 million in this first month to buy these pigs. Double click. All right, well, there's what we have. So G9 is our number of pigs that we have, and that actually was laid out really nice. So the next February or the March will be 0, so I can leave it alone. It's good. B53, that's how much those pigs weighed. So I need a dollar symbol in front to lock that down. Don't move. I want that to stay 100. And then B9 means that I'm going to come across the rest of these columns, and I don't want the B to change to a C, so dollar symbol in front of that. Same thing I did before, enter. All right, so $1 million here, slide it across all the rows, and basically it looks like I got the timing right. So I'm spending money in January, but not in February. I already had the pigs bought. March, already had the pigs bought, so I'm good. But I did have to buy a new set in April, so you can see the timing of that looks to be correct. All right, medications. I'm going to go through here and try to do this a little faster. So equals. So how many pigs do I have on feed? I'm going to go to my resource page. Well, for medications, I'm feeding 25,000 pigs. Each of those pigs is gaining 53.33 pounds. Again, something set. Multiplied times, well, what does medications cost? Well, that costs 10 cents. Hit enter. So I'm spending 13,000 in medication about that month. If I double click on that, looks like everything is going to be set for me. On the resource page for G10, that was how many pigs I had. That's 25,000, and it's set up every month, so I can drag it across the month. It looks good. Let's see the resource page, F14, and now I'm going to show you some shortcuts. Remember how we're writing these like we did feed? Really, medication, supplies, tractor costs, all of these are really pretty much the same. So let's write the formula a little smarter. So resources, G10. I don't mind if that goes across the months because every month I've got a quantity. However, if I copy it down, I don't want the row to change. So I'm going to put a dollar sign there. I'll show you why I'm going to use that in a second. All right, let's go to the resource page. That was how much the pigs gained. That I need to stay locked completely like I've been doing. So dollar symbols in front of the row and the column. Revenue and expense sheet. That's B10 here right on this sheet. I don't want the B to become a C, so I put a dollar symbol in front of it, but I don't mind if the 10 becomes an 11 and a 12 because I may be looking at those other costs. So I kind of edited this formula a little bit special by locking the quantity, the row. I want the column, but the row is locked. So I put the dollar symbols in the right spot here, I think. Let's go check it. I'm going to move this across every month, and it's the same every month, which makes sense to me. But I've written this formula so that hopefully I can just take it and just say, hey, these are all in the same order. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to come down here and paste it across all of these other months. And now I just got them to do for me tractor costs. So let's check it. Double click. So that's looking at the resource page G10. It's looking at F14, just like it was before, and the expense is B12. That's 3 cents. If I run over here, check one in the middle, double click. It's based on the same 3 cents, but now it's looking at different quantities and that same fixed amount that we gain every month in our pigs. So writing this formula and using dollar symbols can help you write a formula once and use it in several places. It's also good to always go back and kind of check your work. We've got the same number of pigs, the same weight gain, nobody's dying, so we should really get the same answers across all of these. All right, let's go down to the next stuff a little faster here. Machine repair, well, that's the column. That's the row here. We said it all happened in July, so I just jump to July, press equals, go back to my resource page, and go grab that we said we're going to spend that in July. Enter. Brings it over really quick. What about principal and interest? Well, that all happens, we said, in December. So this is the principal row equals. Go jump and get that principal here. We paid principal only $11,000. Cost us an interest equals. Go grab that. And that's going to be, where's that? That is right there. Enter. There's that. All right. Come across here. What about depreciation? Well, it happens also in December, and so I move all the way to here, press equals, go over here and get my resource page. There's depreciation right there. Hit enter. I have a lot of assets here, 10 million worth of assets, so depreciation will be kind of big. What about cash down for those assets? Well, that all happened in January, so equals. For the feed system, we paid cash down of, excuse me, 15,000. Oops, 15,000. Enter. And then the building was right below it, so I don't even have to go write another formula. I can just move that down, and it grabs whatever's in B46 for me right quick. All right, so that's the resource page. We're really just kind of doing our math and bringing this over. Now, let's go to the cash flow. So hopefully that page makes sense to you. Let's blow this up. We can see a little better. All right, in January, what did we start with? Well, we just press equals, and we go back to the resource page, and it tells us we started with cash of $2 million. Enter. That brings it over. Beginning cash from investors was, beginning cash was zero. Beginning cash from investors was where that $200,000 was. All right. So additional investor money's none. What about sale of pigs? Well, I would press equals if I were you, go to my resource page, and I already did all that work. But in January, we sell that amount, which is nothing. Hit enter. Now just take it, copy it all the way across for all the months. So there's the total there, okay, for January to December. All right, what about feed? Well, equals, I've already done all the math. Go over the revenue expense sheet. There's how much I feed in January for feed. Looks like all my expenses are in order too. Same order, I hope. Looks like medication, supplies, tractor costs. Hit enter. Medication, supplies, tractor costs, transportation. There we go, all the way down. Machine repairs added to the bottom there. So that's my feed. So that's what I not only pay for feed in January, but I can go all the way down to that one right there. And those numbers right there automatically came in because those are the answers to my formulas I did before. So a formula will help you. Once you bring in January, they're also all in the same order. So I can slide all the way across here with a copy paste, and there they all are for all the way through December. Machine repair equals. I had to kind of wait and not do that one because that's on its own in my revenue and expense sheet. There is the repairs right there in January. And remember, I'm going to click January, how much my repairs are, hit enter. But then I'm just going to copy and paste that. And then in July, it'll drop in its correct 200,000. All right. But back to my sheet. Now, all I'm doing is using my resource page to fill out the appropriate template I've already given you. Let's go down here to assets. Well, I'm just bringing in everything, and then I'll write my formulas. So here's depreciation. here's assets on interest equals. Well, in my revenue and expense sheet, what do I pay in interest in January? The answer is that right there, which is nothing. What about principal? Now, I've reversed these a little bit, so you have to be careful. Do them one at a time. Principal, go back over there. Principal in January, I pay right there. Okay. Looks like feed system. What did I have to pay? I'm gonna do all these in the first month at first. Feed system for January, go to an expense sheet, and in January I did have to pay $15,000, and for the building I did have to pay up front $80,000 down. All right, so there they all are. So cash for assets, they're all right there. Copy and paste them across, and you get them all in the right timing areas, like that interest and principal payment. All right, let's go back now, write our formulas. We have everything. So let's start here at the top. Total cash available. Well, that's just going to be equals sum, everything you got available. Beginning, money investors, additional, or sales. I just grab them all. Close parentheses, hit enter. That's how much money I have in the month of January to use. All right. Let's go finish writing the next of them for this month. Let's go down here. How much do I spend in cash flows? Equals sum. That's just a quick formula. Just highlight all the stuff, close parentheses. Now you could just go equals and add this one plus this one plus this one, but that is way too much work. Do the equals sum if they're all in order, and just pick the first cell, slide down to the last one, close parentheses, hit enter. You get it. Same thing here, total cash outflows equals sum. First one all the way to the last one, enter, 95,000. Now I've already written the net cash flow formula for you, but double click. It's just going to be simply what was available minus what you spent, minus what you spent for assets, and that's how much is left over. Now, since that's what's left over, then that must be what we begin February with. So you just press equals, go grab the ending, enter, and that moves that over. Now let's carry these formulas across. That formula, the one I just wrote, it's going to be the same for every month. So bring that over all the way across. This total available, same for every month. Bring that all the way to December. Got that across. Got some goofy numbers here. We'll clean that up in a second. Outflow, what do we spend every month? Bring that across. See how these are changing as I update the formulas? What about what you have for assets? I know there's nothing else during all these months, but just formula, bring it all the way across. And then finally, net cash flow, double click, and it's doing the formula already for us. Okay. All right, come over here to the next month, and that means we ended in March with 162. Ended in February 162, begin March with 162, all the way through the formulas. We sold a bunch of pigs here, so we have almost 3.7 million. That's what we began April with. So you can see as we move across here, we are building cash flow pretty good because we started out with our $500,000 that we need to get going, and now we've built it up. All right, now, every time I do a cash flow, that's what we're going to end up in December, we think, with left over. So we're in pretty good shape from a cash flow standpoint. But now I always do a total column just to check our work. So total, what did we begin in the very beginning with? Equals. I got to run all the way over here and say, well, we began with the answer 0. Enter. Now, this next is what we get from investors. Well, I'm going to do another equals sum, because we could have begun with money every month, but we got $2 million in the very beginning. So I'm just going to highlight every month, and that means across every month we got $2 million. Now, once I write that formula to total all that up, I can go ahead and just use all those rows. And so that means that in total we sold a whole bunch. And so now when you get numbers like this, that means your column's not wide enough. So you just double click, opens it up. So we sold over 15.6 million across all the months. So we began with nothing, total up all the different ways we got money. And this is a subtotal row, so I can kind of get rid of that. And so that's what we have. Now, I've already written a formula for, well, what do you have? So I can just take that formula, move it right over here. So in total, we began with nothing, got 2 million from investors, sold this. All year long, we got 17.6 million. All right, now come down here, equals sum. And I can go over here and say, well, we started out spending in January that much. So we fed 2.2 million in feed. Again, copy paste all the way down for every month here. Oh, I'm getting this. There we go. And I get that much money each category. Total that means I'm spending 8.6 million. Come down here, same kind of thing. Now, you notice I've written these formulas over and over. Sometimes you can just say, hey, I want the same thing I did up here. Copy, paste it right there. That's going to automatically sum all of those. Now I've got it right there handy. Copy and paste it down. Got that formula already done. Copy and paste that over. And my net cash flow is already written. When you do a net cash flow, if you total all years or all months and you look at the end of December, you should have the same answer. So if you don't, then what's happening is maybe your total column has got something messed up, or maybe your months have got something messed up. So you got to kind of figure that out. But in the end of it, if you say you began with nothing, because that's what happened. Now in December, you already had money because November, October, September. But in the total, we started with nothing, but we sold all of this. We spent all of this. We had to spend all of this on our assets. And at the end, what you had available minus what you spent minus what you spent in assets ought to be the same as what you landed on in December. Okay, so hopefully this helps you in your homework, and it helps you with going from a basic information like our resource page, things we know, organize it around revenues and expenses and outflows of money each month to kind of do the math, just to help wrap our head around it. And then finally, straight up cash flow budget. This would be our estimate. All right, you could use something like this to then project what an income statement might look like for our feed operation, or a balance sheet, or more importantly, the estimates that we made here may be needing to take under consideration. We need to look at them a little closer. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get some changes next week. So make sure you get this done for this week. If you have any questions, let me know. But I hope this video helps. Once again, watch this whole thing, go back, and then look at each part and do the work along with me. Pause the video, go do the work, come back. And then if you need some help, let me know. Thanks.